Hilarious. Hi everyone, Dr. Partha Nandi. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you're having a beautiful day. It's lovely in summer in Michigan. You know, we live for this. 'Cause that's when the weather gets. I think it's like 80 degrees and sunny. So perfect. Hopefully it's nice wherever you are. But we love when you guys can join us every Tuesday, and we're talking about menopause. And I'll tell you, I've worked with so many women in my career that have either are going into menopause, are in menopause, and will tell me how terrible it is. I thought we have to give some solutions to menopause, but something that people don't always consider. It's not a bunch of pills or something that people are taking that are the cream, but rather your gut. Imagine that your menopause symptoms can actually be controlled and treated by treating your gut. Isn't that amazing? And millions of women do so many things to try to make that happen. So today we're talking about something you don't have to spend a bunch of money or do a lot of things except for really listening to your body and your gut to be able to do it. So bam, what does your gut have to do with the menopause, right? We know that estrogen, which is a hormone that all of us know that's involved in female health and especially for menopause, an unbalanced and distressed microbiome can cause deficiency or excess of estrogen. So we know that if you don't have the right concentration of bugs in your intestinal system, you're in deep trouble. So the estrogen, when it's imbalanced, you don't manage your symptoms. So what happens is that when you get that kind of problem, you have estrogen related symptoms for menopause, right? So remember that there's also as important that when you have a compromise, what's called an estrobolome, which is the connection between the microbiome and the estrogen. And what happens is that it also increases osteoporosis. If you know of women who are having menopause or at risk of going menopause, important to tell them that osteoporosis, where your bones are going to get weak, obesity, heart disease, all that could happen, right? But the relationship between the gut and estrogen is really not a one-way street, right? Just as the gut regulates and affects estrogen levels, the decline of estrogen also has a direct effect on the microbiome. For those who are just joining us, we are talking about what? Menopause. Huge, huge problem for millions of women. And I'd like to give some solutions with the with gut health and to manage your gut. So let's talk about, for those of us who don't know a lot about menopause. And what's menopause? Big change, inevitable for most women, and they all see it. A lot of people see it rather as impending doom. And so we're talking about how the gut can really affect that. The truth is, while women will most likely experience symptoms, menopause does not have to be this horrible thing that takes you down your life. So, what is menopause? It's at the end of your menstrual cycles. If you're a woman, the term can describe really any of the changes that women have just before or after she stops having her menstrual cycle or period. So that's the end of reproductive years. So what happens during menopause, right? Here's what happens. We just talked about estrogen and the microbiome. So estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, whoop, they decline. And you get cyclical hormonal pattern that you've had for your whole life, totally disrupted. And the metabolism goes down. You feel like less energy, right? It's really important to understand that. And so nutrients are also processed differently. Again, for those of you joining us, talking about menopause, huge problem around the world, talking about how menopause can be treated with something simple, not with a bunch of pills or creams, but with your gut, right? So we're talking about menopause symptoms. First signs of menopause, most women during menopause will have what? Hot flashes. People hate that. Hate it. So many of my nurses, so many of my staff, Dr. Nandi, we gotta turn the thermostat down. I'm like, well, it's like, it's 50 degrees. But no problem, I'll just wear a jacket. That's what I've done. So whatever it is, we handle it, right? We try to support. What are the most has nothing to do with the gut. But as men, we're not getting these symptoms. It's so important to be supportive of your partners or your coworkers in this It is can be a huge problem where you're getting these symptoms you can't even control. So remember, body temperature fluctuations, sudden feelings of warmth. Any of you who had this know exactly what I'm talking about. Sudden feelings of warmth that spread all over the upper body, often with blushing and sweating. These flashes can range from mild in most women to severe, incapacitating for some. Women can have what? Also irregular periods, right? You're supposed to have at the end of your menstrual cycle, but you can still have those irregular periods. Chills, believe it or not, right? Night sweats, sleep problems, mood changes, your weight gain. That's a big one. A lot of my patients talk about. Again, those of you just joining us, remember we're talking about menopause, huge problem all over the world. Every single culture, wherever you are, no matter what your credence is, what your color is, people experience it. So weight gain, huge, thinning hair, skin that's dry, and loss of breast fullness. All these things can be problematic. But I'll tell you, those hot flashes and the temperature changes can be significant. In addition, right, really important, fatigue, depression, crankiness. Have you guys been there when you can't, if you have a partner who's going through menopause, cranky, moods going up and down, heart racing, headaches, joint muscle aches, all of it. So again, those of you, and a lot of people come in and out, those of you who are just joining us, talking about menopause and talking about how menopause can be treated with gut health. So really important there. Again, some of the symptoms: headaches, joint and muscle aches and pains, and your metabolism will be slow. Now, with the ovaries, right, important organs, making less of certain sex hormones, there's evidence that when you have these changes, it increases health issues like we talked about: heart disease, obesity, type 2 diabetes, and dementia. You could also have decrease in sex drive. Big problem, because people, they're at the part of their lives when they may have some more time, and they have some they want to really foster the relationship, nurture the relationships with their spouse, and you can't do that. So again, what is a connection between hormones, especially female hormones, menopause, and the gut? What gives, right? The science on the connection between gut and female hormones, relatively new. Researchers have found that female sex hormones influence what? The composition, what the microbiome has in many parts of the body, including the gut. Again, those of you joining us, hey, we're talking about menopause and how the gut can be involved. Now, the microbiome regulates estrogen levels, right? There's a subset or a group of bacteria called the estrobolome. And some of my team will put this up. Estrobolome that specifically works to do what? Metabolize estrogen. In a healthy, balanced gut, the estrobolome maintains homeostasis. It maintains inappropriate estrogen levels, right? But when you have an unbalanced, when you have a distressed, not healthy microbiome, too much or too little estrogen, right? Too much or too little estrogen. Estrogen-related health issues are bound to get worse. Remember, I talked about this. Increased risk for, we're talking about menopause, serious problem, but hey, you can also have increased risk of obesity, osteoporosis, heart disease. This stuff can kill you. I want to talk about a study. Again, thank you for joining us. For those of you who are joining us, let us know where you're joining us from. If you have symptoms, and what you've done to really combat this big problem worldwide. To me, it's a problem where every woman goes through, and it could be a devastating issue. So tell us where you're joining us from, and love to have your comments and question. And talking about a study, right? System. I like evidence-based. I think that although it's not the most exciting thing to talk about, it's really important to talk about. We're not just pulling this out of what. We're actually talking about studies that are helpful to be able to say, this is why we're doing this, right? So the study was titled "How the Gut Microbiome Links to Menopause and Obesity with Implications for," get this, endometrial cancer development. For those of you who just joined us, talking about menopause, menopausal symptoms, hot flashes, temperature changing, weight gain, low energy, and what the gut can do to help. You got a weapon in your body, right? In the gut with trillions of bugs, and bam, man, they're gonna help you. So systematic search performed as a primary database. 8 articles focused on what? The relationship between obesity, right? being obese, and 8 studies focused on menopausal health. Both the menopausal change, right, and obesity were noted to increase dysbiosis. For those of you who've been joining us every Tuesday, if you haven't, you can look back on our Facebook page and you'll see lots of these lives still there. When you have menopausal change and obesity, you increase what's called dysbiosis, which means that you don't have a good, healthy amount of bacteria that are good, right? And then you increase the firmicutes to bacteroides ratio. Now, when you reduce the microbiome diversity, it means you want a lot of diversity. When that happens, you also change the estrobolome. Remember, estrobolome is what part of your microbiome controls the bugs in your intestinal system, which can change what you do with menopause, right? When you have this estrobolome in disorder, it can cause increased inflammation. And then when you have increased inflammation, leads to worsening. So the study concluded that the female gut microbiome, those trillions of bugs, is linked to estrogen levels, menopause, and inflammation. So they can increase inflammation, which shows that when your gut is not in a healthy state, it's a potential risk factor for endometrial cancer. Obesity and menopausal symptoms, can also have a shared what's called dysregulated microbiome. So all the bugs will be different. Again, you can have changed diversity of the microbiome. So not very much diversity, just a ratio which is bad for your health. So we talk about even we're not just talking about observation where people who have better gut health have less symptoms, but actually studies that show that. Again, for those of you who are just joining us, talking about menopause and microbiome. So what are the steps, right? What about solutions? I'm talking a lot here. What are the solutions? What are the steps we can take to boost our gut health? Nutrition, huge factor in this, right? To me, that's great because food is medicine. You can take control of your life. Boosting your microbiome, what does it do? Tremendous effect on your menopausal symptoms and overall health. And so remember, how does food affect menopause? Now, your diet, it can help ease symptoms by doing what? Promoting healthy digestion, keeping your nutrient levels in check is very important. Making sure your body has enough antioxidants. What does that do? Fight inflammation, right? Electrolytes, vitamins, minerals, other nutrients. Also, nutrition recommendations during menopause. What you want to do is recommending general nutrition guidelines, but some more. Because the changes your body is going through, you should focus on extra calcium and vitamin D for bone health, right? Talk to your doctor before just overdosing on that. Just want to make sure you talk to your doctor, but know that you may need extra calcium and vitamin D. Remember also, vitamin D is important for calcium absorption and bone formation to make healthy, strong bones. Lots of women during menopause have bone fractures, hip fractures. That could be the end of your life for some reason because you have one complication after another. Remember, some people find that B vitamins, letter B as in boy, useful around the time of menopause. Why? Researchers have found that the role of compounds from B vitamins can actually be very, very important and almost a necessity in menopause. The deficiency in these vitamins can lead to adverse health outcomes. Like what? Right? If you don't have enough B vitamins, you can actually have increased risk for stroke, cardiovascular disease, so heart disease, dementia. Remember, this is the age group and all this is happening. Those of you joining us, we're talking about menopause. We're talking about how your gut can be a real fighter for your health, and this is for your health overall during menopause. Foods to avoid. Please, this is important. Please pay attention. Foods to avoid during menopause, right? Cut the processed foods out, stuff in a box or a can. Gut killers. Remember, refined carbohydrates. Talk about pizza. Talk about sugar. Talk about candy. All that stuff that people like. Look at the label. Avoid added sugars, alcohol, and caffeine. Really limit them. Right? They're not going to help you. High salt foods. Don't want those high salt foods. But what about, so okay, doc, what about the foods to eat during menopause? Again, Those of you who are joining us, because I know it's live, people jump in and out. For those of you joining us, talking about foods that can help you with menopause instead of taking yet another pill or cream or whatever concoction. What about food, right? Focus on superfoods, I say, and focus on superfoods that promote your gut health, right? My Superfoods Cookbook, we'll put the link up here. Many of you know about it already. If you haven't downloaded it, let's download it now. Free, and what happens is that over 60 recipes that can help you improve energy, reverse aging, all of it. Now, remember, you have to have fermented foods like sauerkraut, kombucha, kefir. They have live bugs that can help you with longevity, but also can help you with your symptoms for what? Menopause. We love starchy vegetables, squash, sweet potatoes, beets, nice dairy products for bone health, lean protein, right? Not have a bunch of, I don't know, bacon or sausage, but rather skinless poultry, right? Skin is bad in poultry. Put that skin on, might as well just, put the fat right back on, right? Skinless poultry, lean cuts of beef and pork, healthy fats. Talking to my son about healthy fats. How about avocados, right? Now remember, healthy fats can actually manage symptoms of hot flashes. You can write that down. So it can help you manage hot flashes, very important. Whole grains for heart health and diabetes prevention, phytoestrogen foods as well. What are those, right? Grapes and soybeans. One thing I did mention, please, share this with your community. There's so many women, millions around the world that are suffering from menopause. Hopefully this will give them an introduction. And we want to talk about what it is that we do, right? You want a balanced gut, a lot of diversity, beneficial bugs, and that helps you have sustained wellness and better. You're going to have menopause, but how do we get through menopause without getting battered and bruised? And when you have a balanced gut, it helps you do that. An unbalanced gut changes the hormones, makes things worse, including all the symptoms of menopause, but also you can have worsening reflux, worsening depression, anxiety. And then a healthy gut, how do you do it, right? How do you do it? Remember, you want to avoid things that make a gut worse, which is poor diet with processed foods. You want to make sure you have foods that are whole, full of nutrients. And I'll talk about that in the Superfoods Cookbook. Nutrient deficiencies are terrible. Stress is worse. Environmental toxins like artificial sweeteners and pesticides. Remember, when you can avoid antibiotics, they are like a nuclear weapon for your gut. Bam, demolishes them. So remember, exercise. We talk about movement with purpose, super important, along with mindfulness. You need to reduce the stress, reduce the noise, right? And when it comes to practicing meditation, yoga, spend some time in nature, even take a walk in your garden or around the block. Anything will help. It really is important to move with purpose, right? And that helps you get a healthy environment. So excellent stuff. And then I will be sending out an invite this week. We're going to do an entire course for this for menopause. And there'll be some very I want to make sure everybody can join, but I want to make sure it's worthwhile, right? So there'll be some small fee, 99 cents or something like that. And I want to make sure it's something that everybody can afford it, but we'll give a more comprehensive class about how you tackle this problem with menopause. And you can enroll and join us, and there'll be a nominal fee. I think it'll be about 99 cents. Please don't take my word for it right now, but it'll be something around there, but it'll be very, very affordable wherever you are in the world, including the US, because this is a problem I see so many people suffer from. And I think we need to talk about solutions. Let me say hi to some of the folks that have been joining us. Christine Sutherland, thank you so much for being with us again from Port St. Lucie, Florida. What is it, about 98 degrees? I'm sure it's quite warm. Thank you. And then Dulce Valdez, thank you so much. Let us know, Dulce, where you're joining us from. Laura is joining us from Farmington Hills, beautiful Farmington Hills. Yes, Oren Goodman from Toronto. I'll make sure to share this with my parents. Absolutely. And Kay says hello from San Diego. Love that we're tackling this topic. Yes, it's really an important topic. I don't see too much written about it, right? But yet, so many women are talking about this. And Jolene Stroud says, thank you for talking about this. My pleasure. Thank you for joining us. Again, if you think this is important, share this with as many people as you can. And then O'Neill, Kevin DeLong, good evening, guys, from South Africa. I feel like South Africa is my second home. It's so amazing, It's a beautiful, beautiful country, rich with tradition, and many folks that are originate from the country that I was born in, from India, are there too. So from Johannesburg to Durban, all over the country. Amazing place. So thank you for joining us. And good evening, Dr. Nanny from the west side of Detroit. And Alice Carlton. I went through menopause and in my mid 50s, had no effects whatsoever. I just simply stopped at age 75. I still feel like I'm 18. Nice. And have tons of energy. I never thought that talking about menopause was something that people didn't do much, I guess. Well, I'm glad you're doing well, but lots of people suffer. Elizabeth Webster, thank you for sharing this. I've been going through this for the last 10 years. And yes, your gut health is very important. What foods you put in your body is most important, and the hot flashes are bad too. Absolutely. And you have, the thing to me is that you're powerful, right? You're powerful. You can take charge of your life and really change the entire equation. So important. And Laura says, my mother suffered with hot flash for 20 years. Oh my gosh, Laura. That's terrible. Ronnie Kanaya is, if you had hysterectomy at age 47 because of precancerous levels and multiple fibroids and large cysts, how much estrogen should you be on? I am on low dose in the patch, but gain weight, dry skin, extremely tired, more. They can check your estrogen levels, your doctor can, and get the right dose. Very important question, right? Very important question. Michelle Dunn says hot flashes, extra pounds in the middle, and less energy. It sucks, right? I mean, Michelle, like there's no way around it. So that's why we're talking about what can we do to really make this happen. And then Obida Caleb says, Doctor, it's been a while. You are very much welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us, Obida. Please share this with your followers. Christine Sutherland says, I have most of these symptoms. I'm 62. Absolutely. And then let's take a look and see. There's a Facebook user. I don't know his or her name, so I haven't gotten my gut health on point. Had hysterectomy at 32 and 42, all went to hell. But the past 2 years has been amazing. My 3 steps every morning has eased so much, down triple digits, 49, and feeling better than my 20s. Awesome. And you tell us what you've done, and you can hopefully join us, when we do this session, this kind of masterclass, let's say, about how you're going to be able to tackle menopause. Again, love to be able to hear your thoughts. And Callie says, thank you for being such an understanding person, partner, and physician. I remember when we were dating, you always said, women get all the stuff. You're always so respectful and empathetic. You're always so understanding of the below zero temperatures. Many of your nurses like to work in, and you always wear long sleeves and sweatshirts, even in July. Oh, thanks so much. I do. I wore a jacket today. It's like 85 degrees because it's all right. I can wear a jacket, but people have hot flashes cannot take off all their clothes. It's just tough. Jan Randy Shelton, we know about the symptoms, what helps it, and so we talked about that. If you joined us, we talked about how to help the estrobolome and how to be able to help the foods. And I'll go into more detail in the session that we're going to be talking about, to be able to talk about more detail what things you can do, right? So very important. Do you have numbness of the hands in menopause, and why? Typically not. It's not one of the symptoms, but anything is possible. Everybody's unique, but that's not one of the common symptoms. Again, those of you in the community, right? Talk about if you've experienced numbness of the hands in menopause. It's not something that's common, but perhaps others are on the live that can share their experiences. Albadina Sadiku says, oh, I'm sorry, I talked about that. Sorry. Jolene says, that's right. Menopause and obesity can be related. There's hope through sticking to a proper diet. Not sad, right? No corn syrup, no added sugars, hidden sugars in fast food. Absolutely. People go through fast food all the time because it's what? It's something that people say is comfort food, but really it's not great. And Mariella VC says, what do you do for gut health? And we were talking about that. Really figure out what you're going to make your food plan. Super important, right? And our Superfoods Cookbook will give you a good start, Mariella. And then Jan Randy Shelton says vitamin D for bone health. What about vitamin K? What if you're skinny for your height from losing weight? Absolutely. And this is why we really have to take nutrition and make sure we have nutrient-dense foods, because if you don't have nutrient-dense foods, you can really suffer from this Very, very important. And then here's Christine says, what about vitamin B? Would you recommend? I'm taking prescribed vitamin D. I think taking a multivitamin with vitamin B in the vitamin B family, absolutely you should do that. And then Jolene Stroud says, eating a slice of homemade keto pizza once a month is not just a tasty meal. It's much more healthy and satisfying than the carb-loaded, overpriced, salty, tasteless pizza. You said it. Good job. Maybe you can share the recipe with all of us. That would be nice, Jolene. And then Christine says, we are not processed food people. Everything for us is fresh. And that's great. But you're an exception. I'll tell you, lots of people, right? Lots of people have stuff that's processed because they either don't make the time or they don't have the time. And so they really don't have fresh food. And then Mariella says, what metabolome? It's the metabolome. What we're talking about is the estrobolome for this is that the part of the microbiome, which are trillions of bugs that are controlling the estrogen, the excess estrogen or too little estrogen, is what can really, really affect all of our symptoms, so many of our symptoms, right? So I think that's important to know that the estrobolome has to be controlled. That's when you control your microbiome and make that a priority. And our Facebook user says, I'm from Ontario, Canada. Excellent. Shannon Quay says, employers should be educated on this as well. Absolutely, and we're doing our part. When I do talks to employers and we do lectures, we let them know about this. We let them know that one of the things that empathy is such an important thing in supporting your employees, even in times when it's difficult to please everybody. It's really important to be empathetic and understand that even though you're not feeling it, there's so many people that are. Absolutely. Aisha Wall says, good day, doctor. Please make a woman to have irregular periods and interval of 3 to 4 months. Lots of things can happen. Your metabolic profile has to be checked. Make sure your thyroid is checked, your electrolytes, and make sure you decrease the stress in your life. If you have a doctor, please have them check those things and make sure that if there's anything that can be controlled, please do so. Medications can help, but get some testing first. And then Lori Nichols says, I'm the one who had hysterectomy at 32, down triple digits. Thank you so much, Lori. Appreciate you joining us. Hey, thanks so much, all of you, for joining us. Now we'll put up a link, an invite for those of you who want to join us for kind of an in-depth training on what to do for menopause, especially when it comes to gut health. And hopefully you join us. It'll be some nominal fee. I want to make sure that people are serious. So it'll be some nominal fee, probably less than $1, so that everybody, no matter where you are in the world, can afford it. So hopefully we'll see you then. Again, but we'll be back again next Tuesday with another live talking about gut health and really, how it can impact your health, right? We will be talking about another important topic for all of us and say, what can we do with our gut health to be able to impact our lives? Remember, you got to put your health as a priority and make healthy living a part of every day. Namaste. I will see you next Tuesday, and then we'll see you for the in-depth discussion about menopause and your gut. And we'll post that the invite this week shortly. Thanks so much. I'll talk to you soon. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Partha Nandi. And if you enjoyed that video, you're going to love the next one. It's full of incredible information to help you start your health hero journey.